Hey guys, Josh here at TNR. I'm here with Jeff Sealey, manager of TNR. We're going to go over actually Jeff's going to go over some basics as far as kites, kite flying 101, and a little background on Jeff. He competes professionally in local tournaments. He just competed last week, and he's going to talk about kite, the application, some basics on what to use and when to use it.
Right on. How you doing?
Good.
All right, guys. So you got your basic kites here that we sell here at TNR, and most everybody uses are the SFE kites. You've got your extra light kite, which is going to be 4 to 15 miles an hour. This is a very good kite. Very happy that Phil and the guys came out with this. Then you got your classic red and green. They're the exact same kite, just different colors. They fly in 5 to 25 miles an hour wind. They do very well. Then you get into your holy kites, your heavy wind kites. This is the 12 to 30. This is the small hole 40 hole. I was flying this kite and the large hole 40 hole last weekend. We noticed with the wind gusting to 30 plus, the small hole actually performed better than the large hole. You talk to a bunch of guys and you'll see that the small hole is definitely got one the guys like to go with.
Okay.
Basically what I want to talk to you is when you get your kite, I don't care who makes it. There's a lot of different companies out there. What you want to do with your kites is, first of all, get them home, take them out of the tubes, build them, make sure they go together properly. You take mention of the dots. These are actually very important. It is the way that the kite is actually, the spars are designed to bend. So if you've got them all jacked up, twisted one way or the other, you could have a kite that doesn't fly correct.
All right.
What I do is I open them up and then I clean them. You want your kite to feel like your favorite shirt. Nice and light, the one that your girlfriend or wife steals from you to sleep in. Your kite has to breathe. So if there's glue, salt, any kind of foreign debris on the material, it's going to affect the performance. So you take your deck brush, usually your blue deck brush, wet the ground, use any kind of boat soap without bleach in it, scrub it really good, let it air dry, and then you're ready to go take it on the water and try to fish with it.
This is all pre-flying, pre-testing.
Correct. You do not want to go out on the boat. It's blowing 10, 15 miles an hour. Spars are falling all over the deck. You go to fly the thing and it dunks, and then you're having a bad day.
As far as these dots, that's basically showing the spline of the spars.
Correct.
Is what you're saying. So they all are going to bend together. That's why it's very important to get those oriented.
Yeah, all your tubular graphite or fiberglass has a natural bend to it that it takes the path of least resistance to make it flex. So if you've got a spar working against the other spar, it will actually take the kite and make it unstable, make it want to fly right or left, and you're better off just getting rid of those variables.
Okay. All right. So then we're talking. Okay. So you unbox it, you orient the spars, you do a little pre-wash, let it dry out so it breathes.
Correct.
And now you're going to go and take it out. So what do you do next?
Now you're going on the ocean. You want to go out there and get this brand new kite flying. The SFE kites, they come 99% of the time adjusted with your bridle between the two dots. And so what you want to do is you want to hook it up there. I always send the kite out without weight on it to begin with, because you'll have a kite, it's like they do their best to make them as consistent as they can, but you'll sometimes have a kite that naturally wants to be a right kite, or sometimes it wants to be a left kite.
Okay.
If you're trying to get them weighted to fly a particular direction, to get that cut, to get the separation in your baits, the last thing you want to do is be trying to work against the kite. I pulled out 3 kites over the weekend here, and 3 in a row. Both of them wanted to be left kites.
Okay.
I wasn't making them a right kite.
Okay. You're not going to fight what the materials are making them do.
Correct. There could be a 1/16 of an inch difference in the bridle. It could be the spars are different lengths. We could have mixed all the spars up. It's very common.
Okay.
Once you have an older kite, a lot of guys won't pay attention to that 5E. That 5E means that these spars are 5E spars. So if you dunk a kite, you drop a hatch on a kite, you lose a spar, you break a spar, you really need to get a 5E spar to have a match set so the kite can perform the best it can.
And going back to SFE, I know these are readily available. We use these. We sell these.
Yes.
They're very consistent. They're made in the USA, and they have excellent support. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why we carry these the most.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I know that I've sent back sets. Now they have all these labeled, and it's easier for them to replace and support the customer. Say you break a single spar, or you know, you need replacement. They're good at labeling and resupplying us and the customer.
Absolutely. We stock a lot of spars. We have a lot of them. They're labeled. We keep a lot in stock. So if you come in, you know what you have. We can get you the right spar back in there most times same day.
Absolutely. So you go out. You're going to take it out on the boat after you prepped it, and then you're going to see if it's a left or right, or if it just, you know, flies true. But if you want to adjust, what do you suggest?
Yeah, well, when you get into flying multiple kites, you're going to want separation. You don't want, 3, 6, 9 baits. Sometimes we'll fly 3 kites. You don't want them tight to each other. You want the kites orientated into a diamond pattern and cutting apart.
Okay.
So you get good separation of your baits.
Okay.
And you're not going to get tangles because, a lot of times you'll have a fish come up, he'll air out, he'll come up, you'll be feeding a fish, and they'll keep going the course that they were going. And next thing you know, they're in your other kite. Tangle City, population U.
Right.
So how do we get them to turn into diamonds? We add split shots.
Okay.
We keep a lot of different split shots on the boat. I mean, this is 3 different manufacturers. They're all lead. They're important that you get removable split shots that actually have the little Pac-Man guy. So what we'll do is I'll take the split shots. I'll go to the corner of the side I wanted to go to, open it up a little bit, and then I'll go right on the material. Hit it with my pliers. A lot of times it could take 1 to 4 split shots will get you the pattern that you want depending on the wind. Okay. The more wind, generally the more weight you have to put on there. And then when you add more weight, then you're gonna have to give a bridle adjustment because the kite's trying to fly, so you have to give it some elevation.
Right.
So this is a little bit of a, not exactly kite fishing 101 here. This is a little bit advanced to try to get them to cut, but it's not very difficult to do.
Okay.
It's just, trial and error. You got to get it out there and put it up in the sky and see what it does. A lot of times on the first drift, we'll start an extra 20, 50, 80 feet deeper than we really want to do our drift to get our kites set up. So when we go through the zone, everything's perfect.
So to back up, out of the package, assembled, washed down, dried, prepped, and then you take it out for the initial test to see if it's, if it wants to veer left or right.
Correct.
Deploying it, getting it up. How do you suggest, what speed do you let it out? How do you get the ball started? I mean, that's the question.
The guys starting out, you're going to dunk the kite. It's just the way it is. I mean, you go out there the first time, you're going to dunk it. So most times when we set people up, we always give them 2 kites. And it sets you in the right direction because you dunk the kite, you got to bring it in. Hopefully you don't break a spar. Hopefully you don't break the center section. Yeah. And then once you get it in, it's covered in salt water. So you have to rinse it down, soap it down. You got to start the whole process all over again because if you just pull it out of the water and as it dries, the water is dripping off of it, it will have salt blotches uneven. Yeah. And that will cause your kite not to fly properly. Right. So deployment, you want to get the cleanest air you can get. Usually, you go to the bow of the boat if you can, and then you pop the kite up, you try to get it to clear the T-top, and you start letting it out at a slow pace. If it's blowing under 15 miles an hour, I'll put the reel, I don't care if you're using a manual, an electric, a yo-yo. You're going to let it out. You can handle that. And I'll use total free spool in the reel so I can control the speed a lot faster than if I use the drag lever or the star on it. Right. So over the weekend there, it was, gusting to 30. So I'm using the star on the reel and my hands show it. Yeah. I mean, it burnt me pretty good.
So you get it up, you get it to catch. Okay. It's challenging for people. It wobbles around. They try to let it go out. I mean, it's like you want to... How do you get it to grab initially? How much line do you like letting it out? And then what pace do you like pacing out to keep the party rolling?
I like to get it out about 30, 40 feet, and I'll lock it up and to see what the kite wants to do. If you lock it up and it's at a lower level and it bites and it starts to raise up high, your kite's gonna fly.
Right.
Then at that point you can back the star off,
Uh-huh.
and I actually deploy all my baits at one time. So when I get to my long, I'll plug my bait in,
Yeah.
and I'll loosen the drag up to a pace where it's going slow enough that I can go to the well, get the next bait, bridle it, pin it, however I'm gonna hook it.
So it's creeping out.
It's creeping out at a steady, slow pace.
Okay.
If you dump it too fast, what you'll have is the kite will start to dip, and then it gets that death spin where it just starts wobbling.
Yeah.
And if you keep going at that pace, they don't correct. They will crash.
Right.
So at that point, when you see that thing sashaying left and right,
Yeah.
real aggressive,
Yeah.
I lock the reel up, and hopefully the kite grabs and then starts to elevate again.
Yeah, it starts to right itself.
Exactly, because when you got the weights on there, the kite there's not enough wind. The kite's not grabbing enough wind to lift it.
Yeah.
The kite has weight to it. So what's going to happen is if the kite isn't got the wind to lift it, it's going to the weight's going to overtake it. It's going to crash.
Okay. So yeah, so a steady pace, get it out. If it's wobbling, basically stop it, let it grab, let it correct itself, and then if you're deploying the baits, you're playing on pro, just let it go out steady where you can go back, add a bait as the clips come
Correct.
to pass.
Correct.
And then okay, you got a quick question. I'm more on the layman side. Okay, now bringing it back in.
Bring it back in. I like to walk my baits in. I can't tell you how many times, we're doing a bait change. We're moving from a spot to a spot.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of an electric. The electric with a variable speed, you can turn the reel on, and you can work all those baits all the way back to the boat. I mean,
Yeah.
you can get a bite 10, 15 feet off the boat. I mean, the fish,
Right.
they're not scared of the boat.
Okay.
And sometimes that bait changing its presentation from just, being calm and collect out there to being drug and looking actually like crap.
Yeah.
That will spark a bite.
Yeah.
So I recommend, work your bait all the way to the boat. Once the clip hits the tip, unclip it, and get rid of him and keep moving to the next.
Okay. I mean, this is cool. So, we do have these in stock. If there's always a lot of gray area as far as variables and flying kites. It can be frustrating for a lot of people. I mean,
Absolutely.
we've sold them. We'll generally set you up with two, like Jeff said, because it's good to have a backup, even if you're a pro.
We had a customer here yesterday, broke a spar, came in. It's kind of what sparked this whole series that we're going to put together. He broke a spar. I saw the way he had the kite weighted, and the split shots aren't the only way to weight it. You can put a rubber core, you can get oversized lead and put it on the spar. There's other techniques that we'll go over.
Right.
But he had the weight in a position I've never seen it before. This isn't it, but and he actually had, and I didn't. It looked like it was going to be a problem. He says, yeah, this kite wasn't flying correctly. And then I just gave him a little tips on how to adjust the weight, put it in a different spot, and he went out and it made the difference for him.
The next video we'll talk about basically bait deployment, adding weight, floats, and we could get into that. This is just to get someone break the ice. And like I said, Jeff's very experienced. He's been doing this a long time. Just as long professionally. I mean, he was on the World Championship team. So he is the one to talk to locally. He's very patient. I've learned a lot from him, and it's his forte. If you have any questions, stop by, shoot us a text on Instagram, Facebook, and we'll be glad to answer it.
Absolutely. Come on by, guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.